A couple seconds of
Okay.
hit.
Getting ready. We're streaming. What's a little 4-minute and 37-second delay? It's nothing. Thanks everyone for being here. I see we've already got the chat started here. That's great. That was what we like to see. Hey everyone who made it. This is the community chat. So, you know, we've got a topic. We're going to talk about war and spirituality, but of course, it's optional. Whatever you guys want to talk about is what we'll end up talking about. Happy Friday to you too, Linda. Hey Keith, nice to see you here. I want to give you just a framework in case we do want to talk about it as to how I got to this topic. I was hanging out, just minding my own business, and I was looking at my news app on my phone. You scroll one way, there's like a couple of news stories, and one of those that popped up on there was like World War III update. North Korea, Russia, China, something, something, something. And I was like, wow, that's intense, World War III. I found out it's just like this sort of maverick site, you know, but just to have it put in that kind of terms made me think about the tensions that are arising between countries like U.S., North Korea, and all the other ones as, hey, man, we don't want that. We don't want to get into that. So, hey Gonda, hey Matthew, how's it going? So I'm wondering, so we're sitting here in our little bubble of learning about Swedenborg stuff. Is there something we can contribute to making the world less war-y? And does spirituality play a role there? And what kind of techniques do we use and how do we do it? So I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead, write your comments here. Will says all wars should be created. Do you mean like put in their crate? And Nika says they're already speaking it into existence. So maybe we're like jumping the gun on labeling something like that. So I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to read something from Swedenborg, believe it or not. I know it's the community chat. Oh, Sharon's not getting the show. Refresh your browser. Oh, I guess you're not going to hear me saying that. Hey, if you don't see me, listen to what I'm saying. Yes, the show is started. We're here. I was going to read something from Swedenborg about this very thing, which is war. And why doesn't the divine just stop war? Is Swedenborg pro-war or anti-war? I don't think he would be pro-war, but this is Divine Providence 251. He says, you can get out your pieces of paper if you want to follow along. It is not because of divine providence that wars happen, because wars are inseparable from murder, plunder, violence, cruelty, and other appalling evils that are diametrically opposed to Christian caring. Oh yeah, by the way, look, you can see Matt live in action, and Shiloh's there live in action. These guys are like doing the Swedenborg Foundation stuff as we speak while I'm just sitting around talking to the computer. But interesting there that Swedenborg asserts that no, it's not divine providence causing wars, because that kind of stuff that's involved in war is opposed to charity. Nika makes a good point. Love will heal all. Love for everything. But most importantly, self-esteem leading to functional social behaviors. But Swedenborg goes on. It's not as simple as just like war can never... Then why does war happen? If God doesn't want it, why does it happen? He says, however, it is absolutely necessary that they be permitted. They, meaning wars. Because since the earliest people, our life's love has become basically a love of controlling others, ultimately everyone, and of gaining possession of the world's wealth. Ultimately all of it. These two loves cannot be kept in chains as long as it is the intent of divine providence that we act freely and rationally. So there's too much corruption. You can't just keep tamping it down until, and it'll just go away. Swedenborg compares it to the human body and disease. There's also the fact that if it were not for this permission, the Lord could not lead us out of our evils, so we could not be reformed and saved. That is, unless evils were allowed to surface, we would not see them and therefore would not admit to them, so they could not be induced to resist them. I'm going to pause it right here, because you see this thing? You guys see this in the chat? This is our friend and Patreon director, Brian Mann, who has used our brand new Super Chat feature. And what that is a way for you guys to give us a little tip, make your donation while we're making this. And when you do it, you'll get a Super Chat icon like that will stay up for longer, and you'll know that you're contributing to this program happening like Brian just did, and very much appreciate it. Go right by where you type in your comments. There's a little Dollar sign, yeah, it is money related, but money is what makes technology possible. It's what lets us bring our message to you. You too can make your own super chat just to support us at the same time. So thanks so much, Brian, for kicking that off. And hey, you know what? That's a good message. If we put our efforts towards something like making positive videos, that can change how the whole thing goes. Oh yeah, the final. So we got Swedenborg here saying, wait, let's get back to. Linda says, what comes to my mind is Jonah. He was told the bad things. He prophesied about it. People repented, and Jonah's prophecies didn't happen. And Jonah was not happy. Oh yeah, because he kind of wanted it to go down. So you have the war, and it's not something God wants, but it's you can't keep evil inside people if they're bent on it, and you keep making it so they can't act out. It's going to get worse and worse. He says, if they would stay closed in like the diseases called cancer and gangrene, and would spread and devour everything that is alive and human. So if you've got evil hearts, there's always going to be some kind of people acting out from it. That actually makes me think, Stuart, could we go all the way to the very top of this chat? Because I think Sharon had a comment before the show went live that was relevant to that. Keep going all the way to the tippy top, even farther than that. Keep going all the way up. Even farther, all the way to the tippy top. All right, so then down a few. And now all the way back to the bottom. Wait, no, just kidding. Oh, hey, look at that. Rain Lion. Rain Lion Zero, thank you so much for your super chat. We really appreciate you saying that what we're doing is worth it. And Rain Lion, love to know what you're thinking about this topic. These are spiritual principles that can help us avoid war. What do you think about, you or anybody, what do you think about Swedenborg's assertion that at times there's this inevitable consequence of there's a lesser evil of letting people act out? Hey, Gabriel, how are you? And I find it interesting that Swedenborg also in other places describes how you can there's a difference between anger and zeal. And because the comment of Sharon's that I was trying to find where she was saying, I don't know if you could ever not have war, because there's always going to be somebody, some kind of dictator or something that's going to try to overstep and people have to react. And it makes me think about the difference between zeal and anger that Swedenborg describes. And later in this number, Divine Providence 251 that I was talking about, he says that angels and good people find their joy and their energy in defending. So they can be just as into defending as people who are aggressive are about attacking, but really that's the difference, is that the zeal is about defending and the anger is about attacking. Hey, Carol, thank you so much. Carol says, countries need to use diplomacy every time. And that's so is this the communication, the wisdom side of things, not gone to often enough, right? And I think there's many out there who say that we're spending a lot more time prepping for war and getting good at war than we are de-escalating. Not that every situation could end in talking, but I think a lot more of them than we currently do. So, and Carol, do you have any thoughts on what that diplomacy could consist of? And how much is it just like a person-to-person thing where you've got to really understand where someone else is coming from in order to meet them where they are? And I think about the nature of heaven and angels is knowing us more and more, and yet looking for that love, and not just letting us do whatever we want, but turning us toward the good. And now Swedenborg says that the neighbor in everybody is the good that's in them, and just like every country, you're looking for what's the good. So Net Tai says war is created with dogma. It certainly has been. There's certainly been. It still is happening. I was going to say it's something that happened more in the past, but people are still going to war over religious dogma. And I think that would be an example of what Swedenborg calls faith alone, that the ideas are more important than the love behind them, and that causes problems. How are you going to say, yeah, God is love, I'm going to kill you, but that's happened so much throughout history. Sharon Spruill says, where's the super link? If you look on my screen, it's like right where you can type in, say something in the chat bar. There's this little dark square with a $sign on it, and you click that, and it lets you do a super chat. And Rain Lion Zero says, Donna Brat says, not having jealousy, feeling happy for others, and wanting what is right for ourselves. So this contentment, healthy living, and then not coveting. Right? So if there was more of that on an individual level and on a societal level, would we avoid that kind of stuff? Rainline Zero says, if we need to have peace, Do we have to have war? Just like if we need to understand the core or essence of spirituality, we have to go through or suffer. Now, that is a great point, because Swedenborg says nobody is reformed except through spiritual struggles or temptations, right? That you can't get better without those kind of struggles. Does that mean on a larger scale, there has to be war? I would hope not. I mean, I could picture like something in the future where everyone gets better and there's not war. It could be that there are different levels of struggle, that the very negotiations and diplomacy that we were talking about before, it could be that even that, it could be like a heated discussion and really that could be a form of spiritual struggle, or really working out policies. There's a lot of steps between peace and the kind of war we think of now with all this killing and that sort of stuff. Perhaps one could correspond angels to the white blood cells in our body, Lady Weaver says. That is totally a great analogy, that they're looking for, because Swedenborg says that the whole of the good side of the human race is like the body, and these angels are coming in and trying to, white blood cells not only have to know how to dispatch harmful things, but they have to be able to identify them and make it so that they can't multiply and do bad things. So you have to have this knowledge and then this power at the same time, which sounds like angels to me. Gonda says, I can only donate through PayPal, so sorry guys. No problem. Don't worry about it. If you do or you don't, it's all, everyone who does just helps everybody else, and everyone else helps with the conversation, so we're all good. So regimes that use religious dogma, this is Carol's, to control their people, it's irrational. Yeah, right. And that's especially irrational in Swedenborgian sense, because Swedenborg says that the longing to dominate and control is the opposite of spirituality. The opposite of religion. The religion and spirituality are about mutual love, and the love to dominate is the core of everything evil. That's what Swedenborg says. So if you're using religion to do the thing that's anti-religion, you've got a lot of problems like that. Okay, so someone said, with Will saying, someone said, peace is an ideal we deduce from the fact that there have been intervals between wars. So is peace defined by war? And I think that, we got to take a look at that. And Swedenborg does say you only know what love is by knowing its opposite. But I would think, again, it's not this whole sliding scale here. So Linda has made a huge super chat. So thank you so much, Linda, for doing that. Super appreciate it. And if there's anything you want to talk about, let me know. You can write a message with it or hit us up now. So Gert, hey Gert, my friend Gert, the cab driver, says, be humble, be loving, be wise, have a good weekend, people, bless you all. Hey, that's good advice. And it's funny because you've heard stuff like that before, but if we really take it to heart and do it, that completely changes what's going on. Donna Bratt, white blood cells, I like that idea. Does that mean if war ends in the outer world, it will end in our inner world? Or does it start in the inner world being in harmony? It's a good question. Swedenborg does seem to indicate that even things on the physical level that are out of divine order, things like disease, they only are in existence because of hell or because of evil in the human heart. So if you take that out, could we all get physically healthy here? I mean, I would think so. I would think you could eventually get to that point where there's enough of heaven in everyone that you're resistant to all that stuff. Could be cool, because you think, yeah, war is not the only problem that the human race faces. There's all this other stuff as well. Hey, I want to invite you guys to, we can keep talking about this. We can also think a little bit about it, because I said in the description we're going to get to the last show we did, which is kind of appropriate. It's about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I don't know if you guys caught that one. And we want to, did anybody watch that? Did you guys have any questions or thoughts about it? I want to bring in Karin, who was the head writer for that show, just so we can chat if anyone has any follow-up with that, or we can keep talking about what we're talking about. Again, it's the community chat. It's none of my business. So, hey, Sharon Spruill just did a $20 super chat. Hey, Karin, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Sharon. She said, I love you guys. We love you too. Thank you so much. Hey, Karin, so welcome. And
oh, I'm here.
Yeah, you're on. Did I tell you that? Yeah, you're there.
Yes.
You did fine. You didn't do anything embarrassing while you're on.
Okay, because I'm watching on the YouTube. Now I've closed that, but that has like a delay. So I was still
Oh yeah, that's just waiting to pop up. So hey, I want to invite you on. Sorry, I'm trying to read the comments at the same time. But let's talk about. Did you hear this discussion we were just having?
Yeah,
Do you want
and I want
to
to
do you want
insert.
to weigh in on it?
I personally believe that we could outgrow war, and that we will,
Yeah.
and that will not be the challenge that we need to deal with anymore. There's plenty of ways we can work cooperatively to figure out how things can work better on this planet, and let heaven come to earth, and that war will not exist anymore someday, I believe. So I like to think that that is our future. But yeah, we got to get there by figuring out how to not try to solve problems with war anymore.
Well, and there's a lot of, it seems like, a lot of what Swedenborg says and what you read in the text of Old and New Testaments is indicating some kind of fallen state. Like things are not as they should be, that we should have it with this open communication with heaven. You're talking to angels and all that stuff. But yet but we're here instead. So, but it's something that we can aim at and get towards.
Yeah, and there's a promise, like we did in our Spiritual Future of the Human Race show, in all world religions and even in different spiritual prophecies and things, that we can head back there. We can head back to a golden age sort of state, and not need to be immersed in the fallen state tendencies anymore. So
yeah.
So choose to go that direction, and I believe we can achieve it.
Right. Hey, so I got some feedback on the show. We had a couple of people say, hi, Karin. Kate said, thanks, Karin. It was a really great show. Helped my understanding greatly. So, you want to talk about, you want to talk a little bit about what it was like coming up with that show and organizing it?
Yeah, well, we definitely, we noticed there's a lot of different things Swedenborg talks about. So there's tons of possible topic categories. But we definitely a long time ago started to have one of those categories be tackling the Bible, which is often very hard to understand, and a lot of people wonder about that. And that did turn out to be popular. Like there definitely were a lot of people that liked a new way to understand Bible text. And the Book of Revelation, of course, is one of the most misunderstood books, and it's very relevant because people are thinking, wait, is this talking about something that is going to happen? And what does that mean? So we started going through, and there's so much in there. So we're just kind of taking one part of the story at a time. So it's just now time for starting to open the seal with the book with 7 seals. And first I was trying to draft a show of going through all the 7 seals, but this is always how it is. There's so much interesting stuff and relevant stuff.
Yeah.
And talking with Chelsea and Curtis, decided to not do all 7 at once, so that we could just focus on bringing out some meaning from these 4 horsemen. And I didn't even, growing up with the Swedenborgian interpretation, I didn't even really realize how much the 4 horsemen from Revelation were considered in the usual understanding of what that's about, to be these 4 very scary guys that are going to come and start slaughtering everybody on earth. And
hey,
so,
can I interrupt you for a second, Karin? I just want to get to a couple of comments. That were I just got. Mr. Houston said, hey, thanks for all you do. Helps me understand so much. Lots of love coming from England. And then Matt Klein was kind enough to give us a $5 super chat. So thanks so much, Matt, for your support. And Matt was the guy who hooked us up with hanging out with Howard Storm that one time for that interview. So we owe him a lot. And then Jahala says, thank you for everything. Love, blessings. And yeah, we burn Steph says, thanks for the hard work. So I just wanted to get all that in there, and we have some people commenting that they enjoyed the show. So sorry, continue.
Nice, thank you, people. Sorry for blabbing on so much.
Ah, man, that's what we're here for.
But every time I'm kind of a geek about, I just love digging into this Bible symbolism, and it's not just an intellectual exercise. Every time I do it, I'm just kind of blown away by how it can apply to my life and shift my point of view. And that happened in this one too. And so a couple of things that really struck me were, well, just the whole scene where nobody can open this book. And just only the Lamb who comes forward can do that. And just to remember that, like, we just can't know what's going on. And the only one who really knows everybody's heart, everybody's motivation, everybody's journey, where they are in it, is God. And just to remember that is very powerful, because it helps us to we have to look at problems and think how to solve them, but don't step over the line of assuming you know other people's motivations, or or whether this is all gonna work out or not, or whatever. Just remember, God knows and is working on it. So that just really struck me about the story. Also, the symbolism of people who watch the show, the symbolism of the Lamb who was slain. This is representing the Lord, and as slain, I guess people have mostly assumed that means a Jesus who was crucified, but Swedenborg learned that it is about rejection. Slain means rejected. So this has to do with the goodness, like the goodness and the truth that Jesus had come to teach was being rejected. Love your neighbor, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Don't judge. All those principles of how to love each other were being rejected, and that rejection is a form of killing. It's a form of just dismissing and making something dead to you. So I thought that was very potent.
Matthew Bush says, I agree, Karin, that has made a big difference in how I interact with people. So there you go. And then I had a couple of, Carol said, unbelievable what I have learned since being introduced to Swedenborg through Off the Left Eye. Gonda says, this channel made me look deeper and in a new way into my Bible. I don't come from a Christian background. And that's sort of what we're talking about right here, is that you can take something like the Four Horsemen, and then suddenly you're talking about how you live your life and how you treat people. And so it's just, so for you, it felt like you could get something practical out of this very strange story.
Yeah, exactly. And when it came to, actually, I was,
hey, wait, I want to say thanks to Yeah We Burn Stuff, who gave us £5. And our hearts are burning for you. Yeah We Burn Stuff. Thank you so much.
Nice. Nice. Well, I was, I was worked on writing this show, but I don't see the finished product until it's posted. And so I was watching that with my husband and a couple of friends, and we were talking afterwards, and just felt like these 4 states of mind that the Four Horsemen were representing, as Swedenborg explains it, he was mostly explaining it in terms of religious ideology, or but it can also be applied to any kind of point of view, like political or just any issue, and how you are holding the balance between valuing people and love and ideas. And it's so fascinating to think that the whole thing that ends up leading to war and violence is something very simple, which is just that ideas got more important than caring about people.
Right.
And it's just this small shift, and yet that makes everything go downhill.
Right.
And because as soon as, actually, I was just listening to an interview with Brene Brown, who's a well-known TED Talk speaker and author, and she talks a lot about vulnerability and how we can get back communicating better with each other. And she was saying, we really aren't wired to actually kill our own kind. So the first step that happens that ends up that people can actually kill each other is dehumanizing the other. Like deciding that they are of lesser value than what you would consider a person that you would never kill.
And Swedenborg says that that's the nature of hell, is you barely see other people except for as these sort of cartoonish extensions of yourself, whereas heaven is you think of other people as more real than you are.
Yeah, and of value, of value. Like, this is a person who cares about things and who has a life and who who has their struggles and all this. And it was so interesting that when I had been researching this, and I was just going through my day, or I guess talking with my husband, and I noticed that if I were starting to think about somebody and then think about some ideas or opinion they have that I don't like, I felt this shift in my heart, like a colder attitude towards them come in. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's the sword, the sword of destruction. Because this rider on the red horse had this sword that took away peace. And Swedenborg learned that means as soon as your opinions become more important than your fellow human being, this sword comes out, and ideas become, like you said on the show, Curtis, ideas are supposed to be tools to help us figure out how to solve problems. But as soon as ideas as soon as you start devaluing your fellow human being who has a different tool than you, a different idea, then your ideas become weapons and you start going at each other with them.
Yeah. So let me get to a couple of these comments. Hope Smith says, thank you for that instruction and reminder, Karin. And then, we burned stuff who gave us that super chat, said, I've been using your channel for deepening my understanding for a few years, and then gave the heart. So really appreciate that. And then Linda said, I love that ideas got more important than caring about people, which we certainly still see. And then Pirate Bird XBA says, Cain is still killing Abel to this day, which is exactly what that part of the Bible text is, according to Swedenborg. And then Donna Bratt says, is it more important to be right or to be loving? And Mr. Houston says, loving is the key. And Thomas Gontara says, your mama is truly an enlightened angel. And I don't know who he's talking about, since you and I have no relation. And then Gonda says, Karin, you are so right. I look with compassion. It really helps. Carol says, even gossiping, which I've always done with family members, now I'm keeping it in mind. So that's cool. Yeah, thinking about people in and out of whether they're present in the room or not. So I know you got stuff to do, but do you have any final words for the people before we let you go?
The final word, I guess, is that it's so simple. I feel like this is the concept that could eradicate war from the world. Is just like value others as people, more importantly than your opinion, and then we can work things out without violence. Because the white horse, the state of mind that is the white horse, which is the ideal, it doesn't mean that is a state where you don't have discussions or even debates, but it means you can do that while also valuing other people and not be afraid of an exchange of opinions, and maybe even having your opinion shift a bit as you listen to someone else's point of view. So it's a state of mind that is not afraid of that, and is more interested in solving problems than in winning with one's own opinion. So it's so simple in a way, but we have to acknowledge it's also very difficult because we're dealing with thousands and thousands of years of heredity of having this be the mindset that we're dealing with, of like, my opinion is the important thing, and so I need to kill you to get you out of my way.
Yes.
So it's this huge challenge for the human race, but I feel like we can do it, and it's always one person at a time, and even with each person, one situation at a time.
Yeah.
So anytime I can notice that sword coming up in my own heart and notice it and like, wait, okay, I really should think about where that other person's coming from and what they might be worried about.
Yeah.
That's it. Like one situation at a time, one moment at a time, one person at a time, and then we can get rid of war.
All right. Well, thanks for helping to build a moment here today. And really great writing on that show, and so nice to see you on the web. All
right. Thank you, everybody. Your wonderful audience.
Yeah, man. Speaking of wonderful audiences, thank you so much, Keith, for your super chat. He says, ES, or Emanuel Swedenborg, has helped me find inner peace. That's the whole game. That's the reason we're doing stuff. So glad that it's having that effect. And Donna Brett says, don't let ego be drawn in. That's just what Karin was talking about. That when we've got ego attached to our opinions, or we're viewing the world through that, it's just easier and easier to get angry and to see other people as obstacles. So yeah, that's awesome. Sharon says, thanks, Karin, you are a blessing. Amen, Karin. Great. Yeah, and then, Linda's got a good one. I was reminded the other day to see the next 3 people along my path. Love them, lift them up. This was a challenge, but boy, what a difference it made in my day to approach them consciously in this way. Especially in the modern world, we deal with so many people that it's very easy to see them as obstacles or just objects. But to actually say, okay, what are these people like? That can really change everything. So Brian says Karin is awesome. Okay, so there was something. Oh, we got a lot of thanks for Karin, and somebody was talking about the political conversation. Can you go up like 1 or 2, Stuart? Sharon said, that seems to be lost in the political arena today. Respect for others, even those with differing opinions. Yeah, man, it's not great in the U.S. where we are. There's not a lot of. I respect that you have a different viewpoint, both from politicians and from all of us, because we're the ones voting for these people, and they know they can rile us up in certain ways. So I definitely think that everybody but politicians have probably a bigger responsibility too, because they're in positions of power, to get a little more civil with the conversation. It's tough because the ideas are intense, but yeah. So let's go back up for just a second to Pirate Bird said, I can say from experience that love is growing in the world. I've seen it grow and inspire others to make love keep growing. Well, I think that even now we. Matthew Bush says, starve your head bullies. Yeah, don't give them anything to feed on, the evil spirits in the head. I don't think people were having conversations a few hundred years ago. Maybe they were, about abolishing all war. I think that this is relatively newer, that people are starting to see the human race as all people, and that you're looking beyond country lines. So it's not like this is. I think things are getting better. That's my point. Is that we're at least having the conversation that maybe this is something we could do without. Lady Weaver said, haha, sorry, off topic. I thought they were related too, with the eyes and the same last name. Maybe it's this whole thing. Okay, we are related. Karin is my mom. Okay, I say she's not because it sounds like more professional that you don't work with your mom. But anyway, so that's the truth. So anyway, those are I love hearing everybody's thoughts on it. And how can spiritual concepts have power? So the one that Karin and I were talking about, that could have leverage. And really that, if you are able to change your own heart, it doesn't just matter for yourself. It matters because people see the way then, the more and more we improve ourselves, the more people can see the way that we address issues and the way we think about things and how you lead with love. The best teacher is watching someone who's done it. I know I've seen a lot of people who in their various areas have gotten to this place of love and wisdom, and that's inspiring just to know, like, hey, that's how you can think about something. That's how you can act. So it's pretty awesome to see that. And so we can do that. But also, I think you'd want to have a way that you get these ideas out in an effective way. Like there's all this study of how you spend your political ad dollars or your public policy stuff to try to get people. So do we need to finding ways to get ideas out there, but then again, you have all this history of religion doing that really badly, so how do you do it? Will Linden says, I find the louder people brag of how open-minded and tolerant they are, the more they hate and despise everyone who disagrees with them. And I think that brings up an important point, which is, this little, tiny little image of what Swedenborg would call like profanation. Don't act like you're good and then not be. So if you're going to take up the mantle of saying I'm really good, I'm tolerant or something, you really got to act like that, because if you don't, it causes all kinds of problems because people start to mistrust those labels and things like that. So I do think that it's a problem when there's extra responsibility if you're saying I stand for something good, to really really stand for it. Because people then start to get jaded, like Will is saying. So Hope Smith says, I'm committed to more positive social media interaction. And think about that, if we could clean up the web, because isn't that so much of our, we don't think we'll get caught, so we act more nasty than we would. If we weren't, then that itself, it's kind of like being on the road. If we could clean up the way that we act towards each other in the car, that would really help in these more complex interactions. And Gonda says, it is a personal thing, but I know for sure I influence people around me by how I live my life. Just be the inspiration for others. Yep, and I think that's a good way good place to leave it. That's what we're trying to do. live lives, not that, so we've kind of mapped out all of our different points of interest here. You don't want to say, oh, I'm so great, like Will was saying, because that can cause problems when the times when you're inevitably not that great, but you can influence people, and there is a potential that we could do a lot less of this war-making kind of stuff that we're doing. Spread the love, be the love, live the love, and, life should get better and better. So I want to say thanks, everyone, so much for joining us on this community chat. Lovely to see you all. As always, if you're watching after the fact, thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys next week. We'll be having a show coming out on Monday about spirals, which is going to be awesome. It might sound like spirals, what's that? But once you start to get into what it is and what they mean, it's really all about how we look at life and the way we grow and change, and it's awesome. So I hope to see you then. Thanks so much, and thank you so much for all the contributions. That is what makes this possible, and that you guys were so generous today. Nice to see you all. Talk to you later.